So, good evening and a very, very warm welcome to all our partners at this inaugural session of Perspectives. I am very, very happy to announce the launch of Perspectives, exclusive platform for all the Canara Robeco partners for learning and sharing from industry experts. We initiated Perspectives to demonstrate our commitment to providing diverse insights on a variety of topics. Throughout the series, we'll feature a wide range of distinguished speakers from diverse fields. And we are happy to have with us Mr. Rohit Sairn as our inaugural speaker. So a very warm welcome and thank you, Rohit, for accepting our invite.
Thank you very much, Gaurav, for first of all, inviting me. And I'm truly honored. And congratulations to Robeco for creating and initiating this knowledge platform, which I'm sure is going to be massively valuable for your partners because this is a business of knowledge. So I'm
Rightly said.
looking forward to.
No, thank you. So before we get into the conversation with Rohit, I'll just give a quick intro of Rohit. Mr. Rohit Sarin is a banker turned entrepreneur with nearly 30 years of experience in family offices. So that's really huge. Private banking and corporate finance. He's the co-founder of Client Associates, India's first multi-family office firm, which has more than 50,000 crores of AUM, owned by they manage more than 1,100 wealthy families. The company has won many awards and has more than 250 employees across 9 offices across India. Rohit is a member of TIE, the India's Entrepreneurs Association, and take out time to mentor budding entrepreneurs as well. In recognition of his pioneering efforts towards the financial planning profession in India, Rohit was conferred with the grandfather status of certified financial planner in 2003 by Financial Planning Board, FPSB India. He's a part of the 5 a.m. club, which is very, very interesting. We'll take some trips from Rohit on how we can join that club and follows a detailed morning regime. Rohit is an avid golfer, a voracious reader, and a history enthusiast. Rohit has also authored recently a book, Unlocking Wealth Secrets to Getting Rich at Any Age. The book breaks down the complex world of wealth generation into accessible and actionable steps. The book delved into wealth in a much deeper way. Firstly, why wealth creation is important, and not only for individual but for society at large. Then it also dwelled into laws of wealth creation and laws of managing and protecting wealth. In today's session, he will be sharing insights from the book explaining why it is never too early or too late to begin building wealth. Rohit, thank you very much, for joining, and heartiest congratulations on writing this book and sharing your wisdom with everyone. It's a fascinating title and a fascinating book. So let me just, begin the conversation by asking you that what prompted you to write this book, and we are very keen to understand the secret to getting rich because everybody wants to become rich.
No, thank you, first of all, Gaurav, for that glowing introduction. Frankly, beyond a point, it gets embarrassing. But yes, coming to your first question, I think that's the foundation question, and it takes me back that, when the seed of thought of this book, happened.
Mhm.
So see, these are very accomplished publishers, they publish very well-known and, accomplished authors like Shashi Tharoor, Ruskin Bond and all. They've known me for a long time and they know their work well. Like we know our work well, they also know their work well. So they've been encouraging me that, Rohit, that you should write a book. And I've always been kind of procrastinating it because this is, not the core and, as we are growing business, so you need time to do justice to anything that you do. But finally, in the September of 23, when they approached me, that, that
Mhm.
I thought that, this is the time I should go ahead because otherwise it'll never happen. And the reason for that was what triggered was that, I always felt because of the nature of the business that I am in, it gives me the privilege to see the data which I get to see, which, most Indians don't get to see. Perhaps our industry gets to see, but most Indians don't get to see. And which gives me a sense that possibly next 10 years could be India's best years in this entire century, right? And then I thought the best way to send that message out to each and every Indian is to basically in the form of a book, whatever I've learned on the job over the last 25 to 30 years, 30 years overall career, 25 years in wealth management, is by sharing, my learnings on the job by way of a book. And the timing couldn't have been right, because why I feel that next 10 years could be the best years for India in this entire century is a very simple high school mathematics, because we all know that our GDP is growing at a nominal growth rate of 10 to 11% every year, right? And if
Correct.
we simply do a compounding at the rate of 11%, in rupee terms, our economy will be 3x in next 10 years, right? So wherever we are in rupee terms, our economy will be 3x. Nobody can stop it. It's simple high school mathematics. Now, what is a GDP growth rate? It is an average growth rate, average performance of a complete grade, complete class, right?
Correct.
Now, there would be some businesses who would then be above average performers. So their business will become 4x in 10 years time frame. There would be some businesses which will be performers, not just average performers. So their business will grow to 5x if they're compounding their business to say 15, 16% per annum over next 10 years. Now, then there could be some businesses which are outstanding performers,
Mm-hmm.
maybe compounding their business at about 20% plus.
Correct.
So which means that their business can grow at about 7, 8 times over next 10 years. And this could be the businesses of our distributor friends as well, which are there on the call today. Big and small doesn't matter, whether you run a tea shop or you run a large conglomerate. If you're running your business well in this country, you can multiply it 6, 7, 8 times over next 10 years. And when that happens, it leads to wealth creation.
True.
Right. So that was the trigger for that thought process, that the timing of this, couldn't have been better. Maybe if I write this book even 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line, it'll be too late. Right. So this message has to go across to Indians, because most of the Indians don't get to see the data, which I get to see. And I thought that whatever little I've learned over my journey, I think the timing couldn't be better to share it now. So hence the project of the book started.
No, no, absolutely. I think that is the best time, and this is the right time, and I can only relate it because recently I'm sure you are aware that even MFI has released a report along with PwC, and they really worked on Viksit Bharat forecast for the industry, where we are projecting an industry again of $33 trillion, so more than $30 trillion by 2047 in industry, which means that the industry itself will grow more than 30 times, during this entire journey of Viksit Bharat. And as you rightly said, I think this is the time for India where huge opportunity for wealth creation and huge opportunity for all, our distributor partners, those who are here, for them to grow their business,
Yeah.
30 times, 50 times. And we have been running one initiative in Canara, Robeco, Rohit, I want to share with you, which is called Amrit Kal MFD and how to grow 50x. So, which is
Very
in,
nice.
kind of sharing the thoughts which you are talking about, that we can actually grow 50x, 100x, because that kind of opportunity is there when you're looking at the journey. No, thank
Sure.
you. Thanks for sharing that perspective. Now, I just want to go a little deeper in terms of, because in your book, you have mentioned, uh, you have given wealth a different perspective. So it is not only in terms of, you talked about that wealth isn't just about the money, it is also referred to the well-being, the access to the opportunities and the quality of life. And some people define wealth as a financial freedom, while others see it as the ability to live comfortably without financial stress. What
Yeah.
is wealth for you?
Yeah, so see, for me, wealth could have different connotation like every individual, but in the context of the book that we are talking, I've basically talk about wealth as a means to an end. It is to celebrate
Hmm.
life. For some people, celebrate life, the meaning of that could be that I've got all the freedom to choose
Hmm.
what I want, how I want to use my time,
Correct.
right? Because I have enough wealth, so I don't need to go to office, 10 to 6, just to make a living. Even if I'm working, I can choose my time. So what I want to do. So that's, for some people, celebrate life may mean how the freedom of choice of using your time. For some, it could be financial security. For some, it could be give best education to the next generation. For some, it could be to acquire assets. So different connotations to different people. But, in the context of the Indians was basically to, for me, what the book really means is to raise the level of affluence in the Indian society, right? Which is basically in terms of the per capita, income of every Indian should grow, so that the disposable income in the hands of the Indian households and every Indian actually increases. So that,
Correct.
you know, It doesn't mean that every Indian has to become a billionaire, but if the level of affluence in the society is going up, then on an average, every Indian is getting wealthier what we have been. And also, that was this perspective is important, Gaurav, in the context that in India we come from a society which is generally, see, culturally we are known as a very satisfied society. As
Mm.
part of a value system culture, we are a very content society. That's the reason if you look at our history from ancient times to medieval times, we've never seen to be expansionist. We were always we were invaded by outsiders. Because
True.
they were expansionist. We were never. We were very we were very happy with what we had.
Mm.
I think that is a thought, and anybody in India, culturally, and if anybody who's kind of wanting to be a wealth creator is seen as not good, that he's
Yes.
money-minded, greedy.
Correct.
This is a time has come, we need to change that thought process that, a wealth creator need not be a money-minded person. There is a difference between money and wealth. So wealth in
Correct.
that context is essentially is a concept of affluence where you
Mm.
want to create abundance in the society so that there is enough resources for everybody to celebrate their lives. And every Indian should be a wealth creator. There's nothing wrong to it. I would even go to the extent of saying that you are a true nationalist Indian if you are a wealth creating Indian,
Well, great.
because when you become a wealth creator, what happens? You have contributed to raise the per capita GDP income of every fellow Indian. So you have contributed to your country, right?
No,
So
I agree
yeah.
completely.
So that is the context of wealth, as far as the way I see it, and the context of the book also. And our profession directly contributes to it. If you're helping our clients, our customers to grow their savings, uh, uh, we are actually helping savings of the nations to grow, right? The money may belong to our clients, may belong to us, but it's a subset of the overall national wealth. So if we are doing our job well, right, we are also helping the national wealth to grow. So
No,
that's the
absolutely. And I
context
think
of
we
it.
have all our distributor partners, they are actually the wealth creators only because they are helping,
That's right.
their clients. So, in that sense, all the participants, those who are here today, are wealth creators and contributing to the wealth creation by providing that services to their client and holding them.
That's
But I think you talked about wealth creator, and in your book, you made a very distinction in terms of being wealthy and being a wealth creator. So could you help us understand what do you mean by being a wealthy and wealth creator?
Yeah, yeah. No, no, very good question. And I particularly wanted to share this perspective, with the society, with the Indian society, because see, Indian society, we've all grown up and seeing, at least I've heard it, that in my grandfather's generation, we used to own this market. This market was in their name, this building was in their name. But if you look at it, if you look at all this, you see the wealth of India is actually locked up into these unproductive assets, right? So maybe, that part of India was wealthy, right? Because they had a lot of assets on their balance sheet.
Hmm.
They were not growing their wealth, right?
Appreciating asset also, which you talked about. Yeah,
Yeah, so maybe suppose you're very wealthy and you kept that money in a bank fixed deposit, right?
true.
You've got 100 crores of bank fixed deposit. So you're supremely wealthy, right? But then you're not growing that wealth. In actual terms, you're
Hmm.
actually eroding that wealth in terms of purchasing power.
Absolutely. In real terms, it's
In
doing well.
real terms, you're eroding that wealth. So you may be wealthy, but you're not a wealth creator. So I wanted to, share that
Hmm.
perspective with the society that every Indian needs to realize that by being wealthy you need not be a wealth creator, you may actually be a wealth eroder for the society. So you need to grow your wealth if you're wealthy.
Correct. No, no, I think and that's a very important perspective because all our partners also, when they deal with the investors and when we look at our investors, profile, and when
Yeah,
they look at, their investment allocations, most of the allocations of the investors are in from a real term, low yielding instruments, and therefore, it's eroding their wealth, in that
that's right.
sense.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Okay. And also, Rohit, I just wanted to get your perspective because I think in your book you have devoted a complete chapter on the risk, and you have emphasized, in terms of how important is taking risk in the process of creating wealth. But the question which all our partners also deal with their investors is that how one determine their own risk tolerance, and in terms of what is risky and how much risk they should take.
Yeah, I think it's a very, very significant question. in terms of its importance to wealth creation, because we all know, we've read this in the textbooks many times, there is
Hmm.
no reward without risk.
Correct.
There is no gain without pain. So these are cliches, but it actually plays out in real life better than anything else. Because see, it's like you can only win a match when you go and in the middle of the ground and play it, right? Sitting in the stand, you're not taking any risk. You're not facing the bowler. You're going to have a zero chance to win that match, right? So you have to take the risk. But then your second part of your question is that how much risk one should take and how to decide the risk tolerance. So I think there is a bit of a subjectivity involved there, and but the answer of that every individual can find. And one easiest way to find that threshold is
Hmm.
that what is that level of loss below which I will lose my peace of mind,
Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
right? So suppose I've got say 10 lakh rupees and I made an investment. If that 10 lakh rupees goes down by 5%, say it becomes 9.5 lakh. If I'm not bothered, I'm okay with it. That's within my risk tolerance. But suppose it goes down 20%, goes down to 8 lakhs. And after that, I'm really bothered and I'm constantly looking, I'm monitoring my report. I'm really upset. I've lost my peace of mind. It's really,
Hmm.
then that is outside my risk tolerance. So I think the best way to define your risk boundary is to figure out, and that only every individual can answer. As advisors, we can facilitate our customers, uh, but only an individual can find that answer. That what is that threshold? If you go below that, your investment value, which will take away the peace of your life, it'll bother you a lot.
What a beautiful answer. And I think it's so simple, which will be different for each individual, each
Yeah.
individual customer. But so beautifully you have explained. Thanks for that. Also, Rohit, I think you talked about in terms of one part is the wealth creation, and the second part is in terms of the management. And you talked about that these are two different aspects in terms of how do you manage the wealth. So, how do you view the impact of the individual behavior? How important it is in both creating and managing wealth? And you have given some examples also in your book. So, can you help us understand with some examples in terms of how the behavior and relationship with the wealth in context of wealth creation and wealth management?
Yeah, in fact, this is one part, which I think I've covered in some chapters in the first section. The
Mm.
first section talks about why wealth is important. The second section, which is the laws of wealth creation. And there basically they touch upon the behavioral aspects also. So one chapter, particularly which I get asked a lot of questions is hunger versus greed,
Mm, mm,
right? And I thought that this is such an important insight which I've learned over my journey and which every Indian will relate to, particularly in the context of that, money making is, greediness. There is a difference, between a very, very, not even a thin line or a fine line. There is a very two extremes between somebody who's hungry and somebody who's greedy, right? So people who are hungry and greedy, they both create wealth in the short term. But people who are hungry, they are able to continue to remain wealth creators. Greedy, basically, their actions catch up with them and they start falling by the wayside. I've given example of two doctors also.
mm-hmm.
One doctor is, completely driven by the purpose of healing its patients, right? As many as he could or he can. The second doctor is, just driven by how many patients can he see so that he can maximize his fee,
True.
right? And because of that, he starts compromising even on the amount of time he's spending on each patient because he has to increase the number of patients he sees in a
Right.
day. Uh, Now, in the short term, maybe this doctor who's greedy, his graph will rise much faster than the doctor who's hungry. But what
Correct.
will happen is that over a period of time, what will start unraveling and playing out is that the doctor who's hungry, who's focused on healing his patients, his credibility will start rising
Correct.
because he has got an
Absolutely.
impact value, because he's spending time on his patients and he's actually working on healing their patients. So
Mm, mm,
eventually he will be able to build trust with his ecosystem and the other doctor will start losing trust with his ecosystem.
correct.
So it is the doctor who's hungry will eventually turn out to be a wealth creator. The doctor who's greedy will actually become a wealth eroder. Whatever wealth he's created, he'll end up losing that over a period of time. So likewise in investments also, this is an example of doctors which I've given. I think all our distributor friends will be able to relate with it.
Yes.
There is an investor and there is a trader.
Mm, true.
An investor is hungry to compound his wealth. and he's willing to wait out, pay the price of compounding to basically wait out to create that wealth. Whereas a trader is constantly looking to book profits in every short-term trade, maybe on a daily basis, not even daily basis, maybe on an hourly basis.
Correct.
Now, the investor is the one who becomes a wealth creator, right? And trading is a zero-sum game. Some months back, SEBI shared data that
Yes.
93% of option traders, they're losing money.
True.
And
Absolutely.
many years back, 25 years back, I shut my Demat account because I realized that it's a zero-sum game. You'll be surprised.
Oh.
No, I do not have a Demat account because I learned early enough, that it's a zero-sum game. Because if you do 10 trades, 7 out of 10 trades you were profitable, they will make you more confident. Next three trades, they are loss-making trades, and the extent of loss on those three loss-making trades could be actually more than the extent of gain on those seven
Hmm.
profit-making gains. So eventually,
True.
it's a zero-sum game. It doesn't really help you. It may help you make some short-term profits, but it will not help you to create wealth. So that's again a very big difference between behavioral aspect of hunger versus greed. If you're hungry to achieve the purpose of your business, right? Every business is nothing else, in very simple terms, is solving some problem for the society for which the society is ready to pay you for it. Now, if
Correct.
you're focused on that purpose of your business, big and small doesn't matter, you will become a wealth creator. But if you are not focused on the purpose, you're not hungry on the purpose, achieving the purpose of your business, you're just focused on your quarter on quarter, how much you're doing numbers, then eventually that will catch up with you and it'll be very difficult for you to be a wealth creator. So those are the two divides which are there between hunger versus greed. Then there's another very interesting chapter which I covered is on ego versus self-respect.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, so the difference there is, somebody who's got self-respect is, we can understand from the term self-respect, he doesn't actually need an external appreciation because he knows his
Hmm.
own respect.
True.
So there is a self-esteem is very high in these individuals. Whereas people who are driven by ego, they are constantly driven by external gratification, right? They feel only happy and self-assured if they are getting external adulation. So their source of happiness lies outside them. So if they get awards, they feel successful. If they don't get awards, they feel they have not succeeded in life, right? It's
Yeah.
as simple as that. So
Outside
just imagine if
appreciation.
you're doing your business or your job to receive awards. So what your actions would be, right? So again, at the end of the day, you become a wealth creator or not a wealth creator depending upon the choice of your actions. So if your actions are driven by your ego and not self-respect, there is a lesser chance of you becoming a wealth creator because then you are taking short-term tactical decisions for attracting the attention of external constituency. You're not taking logical, long-term, sensible decisions which will eventually lead to wealth creation. So that's another very important aspect of behavior, and it also plays out in investment markets. So, for example, we meet in parties when the bull run happens. People will tell you
Yes.
what stocks they bought and how much money they made, but they will never share with you the stocks in which they lost
Losses.
money
True.
because they want to sound as very smart investors. They
No,
want
absolutely. You are right. You are right. Right. Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
But the smartest investors are the one who will do an SIP over the longest possible period of time,
Yeah.
and they know this is the smartest thing to do, and they will be the ones who will be the wealth creators. Whereas people who are driven by ego, they will just make some money when the bull run is on, and then they will sit out of the market for the longest time.
So you're right. I think what you talked about, and I'm just getting reminded of what Warren Buffett has also talked about the inner scorecard. So, I think it, resonates to what you are saying that whether you're working for your inner scorecards or you're working for, the outer scorecards which the people are
Yeah.
running. And if you're working for inner scorecards, then definitely that's the bigger purpose, in terms of your wealth creation, which can drive you. The second, from a behavioral aspect, is also you're right. And I am just wanted to take this opportunity to share with you. For example, if you look at SIPs now today, while SIP is a structural story, we have more than 10 crore SIP accounts today in the industry. We are looking at new SIP accounts coming every month. But the biggest challenge today the industry is facing that our SIP stoppage ratios are, much higher, from a behavioral aspect. And you are very true because if I as an investor who's just trading and looking at a gain which is happening month on month, and I can't stomach that 1 year negative return or that volatility which is happening. then definitely, I'm getting prompted by short-term actions in terms of stopping the SIP. While the truth is that, okay, the wealth creation can only happen when you do nothing. So that power of doing nothing is, where it is very simple solution, but often people, don't give that kind of importance. And for that only, to really help our partners also to give that behavioral nudge to our investors, we have actually launched and introduced a goal SIP. Now, that
Okay.
goal SIP is a very hyper-personalized solution which can be provided by our partners, and investors can opt for it. But it really helps them to link their goals with the SIP so that there is a emotional bonding and there is a behavioral nudge, so that you are linked to that
Yeah.
purpose which you talked about, linked to that goal, and you don't
Mhm.
stop their journey. So so very true. The kind of insights which you're talking about are very, very practical.
No, Gaurav, this topic of SIP is such an important thing that we raised. I'm glad you raised it, and I'll share my two bits on that. I
Hmm.
think it is the duty. I will
Hmm.
not even call the responsibility. It is a duty of each one of us in the wealth ecosystem, as I call it, whether you are an asset manager, I am a wealth manager, distributor, to actually help our customers to stay in the game,
Correct.
right? And we have to be hungry for that goal. That's the purpose of our business. We are adding our good work helps to grow the affluence of the society. So we have to help our customers to stay in the game, continue with their SIPs. And there, I think this book can be a very useful resource. I see some of the comments coming. I think a lot of your distributors, they're asking that they would like to know the name of the book and
Yes.
where it's available. So I may request if your team, which is coordinating this, can mention the name of the book. It's available on Amazon, and I think first of all, each one of us should pick it up, and then if they like it, if the thing is going to help their investor, maybe share it with their investors also, because these are very, very accessible insights. There's a two chapters on compounding with very relatable, anecdotes and examples which every investor will be able to relate with, right? And
Oh,
will
absolutely.
it will help us to stay in the game because we don't have to lose this match. We have to play till the last ball and help our investors to remain investors and not become traders.
True. And I think definitely all our partners would be, not only they can get the insights of what you're talking about in the book, but their investors, I think you have included a very important chapter, which is the significance of the financial advice. Okay, so all our partners will be very happy that you have included,
Yeah, yeah,
and when their investors are will be able to understand that how important it is. But the big question is, with all our partners, when they kind of interact with their investors, and they talk to their investors and manage them, how do you demonstrate that advisor alpha to the clients and help them understand the value of advice, hand holding to the clients? Because often, particularly in the bull times, it gets ignored. The investor do not pay because they say, okay, return is because of me, because I am getting invested. And it is only in the volatile times that might be investor truly understand the value of the advice. But for our partners, what is your message? Because you have been interacting with wealthy clients, and they all are
yeah.
like entrepreneurs, big promoters, family offices. So how do you demonstrate, or how do you convince them on the value of your advice and that advisor alpha which can be generated?
That is right. No, very, very interesting question, and I would like to give you an answer. It's a bit of a science and art, and मैं थोड़ा सा हिंदी में भी बोलूँगा because
Sure.
request is coming for both Hindi and English.
Yes.
Because at the end of the day, I guess this forum is to help the ecosystem, everybody who is doing a great job in helping investors to grow their wealth. तो उसमें क्या होता है कि सपोज जैसे हम किसी डॉक्टर के पास जाते हैं, राइट? या वैद के पास जाते हैं, तो गुड ओल्ड वैद हो गए, हकीम हो गए, तो एक तो उनका साइंस पार्ट होता है कि वो हमारी नब्ज पकड़ते हैं एंड
Hmm.
उन्हें पता चल जाता है कि हमारे को क्या प्रॉब्लम है। तो व्हेन वी
Correct.
कम बैक तो हमें ये सेंस हो जाती है कि यार इसको पता है, ही इज द राइट डॉक्टर, ही इज द राइट हकीम, ही हैज द नॉलेज, एंड दैट इज द आर्ट पार्ट, राइट?
True.
So when we are also working as financial counselors or financial doctors, our customers have to have that sense, and that's a very subtle part or the art part of the value addition, कि उनको confidence होना चाहिए कि यार इसको पता है ये क्या काम कर रहा है, right? Then only they will be able to take our advice, right? And the second part is the science part, which is कि जब डॉक्टर ने दवा दी तो उस दवा का
Hmm.
असर दिखना चाहिए,
Correct.
राइट? दैट्स द साइंस पार्ट। तो वो अब उसको मेजर करने का तरीका होता है कि जब आप क्लाइंट्स के इन्वेस्टर पोर्टफोलियोज मैनेज कर रहे हैं, तो आप उन्हें डेमोन्स्ट्रेट करिए कि उसमें उनका रिटर्न जो आ रहा है वो मार्केट के रिटर्न से बेटर आ रहा है।
Correct.
right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And that's the way we demonstrate value to our customers. We've always been a client first firm, and from day one we focused on capturing alpha and creating alpha for our clients, because our belief was, why should a client come to us and not put money into an good old index funds those days,
Hmm.
if we are going to underperform the index, right? वो तो
True.
अपना पैसा इंडेक्स फंड में डाल दें यार, आप आज के ज़माने में ईटीएफ में डाल दें। अगर वो
Correct.
मेरे पास आए हैं तो मेरी दवा से उनकी हेल्थ बेटर होनी चाहिए ना,
True.
राइट?
Hmm.
इफ आई एम गोइंग टू गिव देम अ क्रोसिन ओनली, they don't need to come to me and pay my fee.
Correct.
So if they have come to me, their overall well-being and health has to improve. So which means their wealth has to grow faster than the market. So that's the science part, which is basically can be very easily captured in terms of alpha. Alpha is some of our distributor friends, most of them will understand. In case some of them don't understand, it is nothing else but excess return over the market benchmarks, right? Which you as fund managers also try to do, right? Your endeavor is also to beat the markets, right? That is how you're also try to, you're also trying to add value to your customers, which is distributors, right? So I think that is the science part. And usse pehle, most important is, I would say, I will give more weightage 60% to the art part, because सब
Hmm.
लोग कहते हैं कि ये business जो है मैथमेटिक्स का, मैं कहता हूँ business केमिस्ट्री का है,
Oh, this is
right?
interesting.
आप जितने मर्जी
Yeah.
धुरंधर मैथमेटिशियन हो जाओ,
Hmm.
आपने हार्वर्ड से, ऑक्सफोर्ड से मैथमेटिक्स करी हो, बट अगर आपकी केमिस्ट्री नहीं क्लिक होती कस्टमर के साथ, वो आपके साथ बिजनेस नहीं करेगा। सो फर्स्ट, द कस्टमर, दैट आर्ट पार्ट हैज टू क्लिक, उसको समझ में आना चाहिए कि ये वो हकीम है जिसको मेरी नमज समझ के प्रॉब्लम समझ में आ जाती है, व्हाट आई नीड। सो व्हेन यू आर सिटिंग विद योर कस्टमर, यू शुड बी एबल टू अंडरस्टैंड योर कस्टमर्स। उसकी रिस्क एपेटाइट आपको समझ में आने चाहिए, उसकी क्या एस्पिरेशन है, क्या फाइनेंशियल गोल्स हैं, आपको समझ में आनी चाहिए। और आपको जो उसका मर्ज समझ में आया, उसकी दवा फिर आपके पास होनी चाहिए। अगर
Correct.
आपके पास वो समझ नहीं है ना, तो आप जितने मर्जी धुरंधर फंड मैनेजर हो जाओ, वो आपके साथ फिर काम नहीं करेगा।
I
So I think
agree.
that is the way to demonstrate the
And
value.
sometimes I think in that process, it is always uh, good to be very open with the clients in terms of what you can do and what you cannot do. Correct. So, for example, you can't predict the market. So you can't predict, in terms of what's going to happen. But what you can do, what is the job is as an asset allocator. Correct. So you will do your dharma of asset allocation. As long as you do that, then
Yeah,
over a period of longer time, you will, kind of help them achieve their goals.
that's right. That's right.
No, that's right. I think that's very interesting. Also, I wanted to, pick up your brains because you have clients across different age groups, different demographics. Uh, do you see a difference of approach in terms of for wealth creation when you deal with this diverse demographics across, various age groups, or even in terms of gender? When you deal with them, do you see any difference in terms of the approach towards the wealth creation?
Yeah, I think as a normal thumb rule, you would expect that the younger investors, who would just started earning in their first job, they would be bigger risk takers, and which is the case because they have the age on their side.
Hmm.
And then conventionally on the other side also, people who are close to retiring or already have retired actually will have a low risk appetite. While theoretically on paper, this makes sense, a lot of logical sense, and it also plays out in the real life also. But I've seen many instances where some of the younger generation, they may be equally conservative as the senior generation, and seniors more risk takers.
What is Rikas?
राइट,
Yeah,
एंड द रीजन उसका ये है कि जिसने देखो 30-40 साल काम कर लिया है, उसको he's now much more wiser, right? He or she knows what works and what doesn't. He's understood the concept of compounding.
compounding.
That is
Yes.
that is one. Secondly, what happens is that maybe if you're close to retirement for 30-40 years, you've accumulated savings, right?
Hmm.
And
True.
if those accumulated savings are more than your needs, then your ability to take risk is actually far higher than what a youngster who's just started earning is.
Yes.
A youngster is earning, say, about 1 lakh of rupees a month, maybe spending 70-80 thousand on lifestyle expenses, is really left with a small sum to invest.
Hmm.
Whereas
True.
somebody who's accumulated savings over his complete lifespan might have created a pot, of savings, which then can take more risk. So I think it varies from individual to individual. But yes, conventionally speaking, younger people will have more, acceptance for volatility, more ability to take risks than people who are in the senior age brackets. And it's important for all of us, to understand, what works for them and what doesn't work for them.
Absolutely. And I think now, another, as you rightly said, I think even at senior citizens, if we talk about retired people or people those who are in that age group, even they are becoming moderately a little, aggressive in terms of because they have seen the power of compounding, and also the average life expectancy is increased. So clearly, the traditional way of looking at in terms of financial planning, where you were looking at particular age group and a average lifespan that has increased. So that is also a dimension in terms of when you're looking at in terms of financial planning or advising products to the clients that can be looked at in terms of those factors are getting changed. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Also, I'm very interested, in asking you because you have made references on the first generation entrepreneurs, billionaires, in terms of in your book, in terms of the wealth creators. Uh, so, what distinguished them, and what has worked for them in your view? And you have been working with a lot of these promoters, first-time generation billionaires, personally, closely with them. Uh, could you help us understand some, if you can share some stories of wealth creators that have personally impacted you?
Okay. So I think we all, are privileged that we work today in a country which is a growing economy. And I think because of that, we actually have the privilege of learning from so many inspiring wealth creators around us,
True,
right? While the bigger names, I think we all know, and maybe I can share one or two of them. And I think some of them are mentioned in the book also.
true.
But I think some of the most inspiring people could be, the smallest of the entrepreneurs, which are actually building their business from the road.
Hmm.
I'll give you a simple example, which could be a very interesting example, which is that just imagine that what would be the size of how much worth of chai would be getting sold in India every day. And
Okay,
this thought came to me 6 months back when the Lok Sabha elections were happening, because one interesting data point came that there are 97 crore Indians which are now registered in the voter list, right?
correct,
Before the Lok Sabha polls in May and something stuff like that. Then I thought, okay, if there are 97 crore Indians which are part of the voter list, which are 18 years and above, there may be some young Indians they might have missed registering, and for the voter list, some may not be want to get registered. So maybe मोटा मोटा आप imagine करिए कि 100 करोड़ adult Indians हैं आज के
correct.
डेट में इंडिया में.
Hmm.
तो अगर 100 करोड़ adult Indians हैं और अगर रोज we all love our चाय every day, अगर वो एक कप ऑफ चाय रोज लेते हैं और
Correct.
humble cup of tea is priced at 20 rupees, which is usually on the street, on the road. I'm not talking of chayos, where you get for
Yeah.
140 rupees in Starbucks and even more. So अगर 20 रुपए के कप की चाय अगर एक इंडियन रोज लेता है तो रोज रोज 2,000 करोड़ की तो चाय बिकती है इंडिया में.
My God, 2000 crores, yes.
Yeah.
And that's a conservative estimate because a lot of Indians take actually two times. People
Yeah,
like
yeah,
me.
yeah. So it was a
Yeah,
very mind-boggling, reality which came across, and and there are many, small entrepreneurs who actually make a living out of that, and they are doing it. They've kind of built their successful. You go to, whether Ahmedabad, you go to Bangalore, you find these local, eateries which are there, which have built a brand out of them. Uh, So that is there. But of course, amongst the better known names, Zomato, Dipinder Goyal is one which is kind of built a entirely new business. This business couldn't have been imagined 10 years back,
correct.
right? And he leveraged the opportunity which COVID offered because, people were locked up in their homes and things had to be delivered to them, right? And that was an opportunity. See, in the food business, there were two kind of entrepreneurs. One entrepreneur saw that as a huge problem, where which the
Hmm.
business is completely got shut. Another
Correct.
entrepreneur like Dipinder Goyal said, okay, if people, my customers are
Everything
not
is,
coming to
yeah,
the
entire
restaurant,
city is my market.
entire city is my market, entire India is my market, I can deliver food to their home. So what
Correct.
if they are not able to come to my eatery?
True.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's the different thought process, which is what India is today blessed with many such entrepreneurs who are seeing an opportunity in every problem.
Hmm.
हमें ऐसे
Yes.
काफी लोग मिल जाएंगे जो हर अपॉर्चुनिटी में प्रॉब्लम भी ढूंढ लेंगे.
True. Yeah.
बट इंडिया इज अ कंट्री विच इज फुल ऑफ एंटरप्रेन्योर्स जो हर प्रॉब्लम में अपॉर्चुनिटी ढूंढ लेते हैं.
Hmm.
Right. So this is Dipinder Goyal is that example where he was able to see an opportunity in a massive problem like COVID, which happened, and was able to scale his business massively. this is one. And then I will also shared an, example of Mr. Ashok Soota,
Hmm.
right? And he became an entrepreneur at the age of 68. All his
Oh,
life he worked with Wipro. And
wow.
when he became, Mindtree, he became a co-founder. He was 68 years old. And then he became a serial entrepreneur maybe 10 years down the line, when he exited or part exited from Mindtree and founded Happiest Minds. Few months back he turned 83, and he doesn't have a family, he never married. But so when I was asking him that what is your inspiration, for to continue to wealth, because he says that wealth, for beyond meeting your personal needs, that number is only finite.
Correct.
After that, if wealth is a resource to uplift the society, so whatever wealth is getting created, then he's hungry for creating institutions in the healthcare and education for the less privileged section of the society, right?
Wow.
And
What a
if that,
noble,
yeah,
noble.
if that is a goal, then wealth creation is a limitless goal. You can create endless amount of wealth, and that is how you become truly a wealth creator. He's a brilliant example of somebody who's driven by hunger and not greed. Because
And
अपने लिए तुम
with
कितना भी
purpose.
कर
Yeah,
जाएगा.
absolutely.
Yeah, and
Purpose
that's the
driven.
reason, even at that age, which the book title is also, that you can be a wealth creator. Till 68, he was working with Wipro all his life. And then he became an entrepreneur and a wealth creator after 68. So that's a brilliant example.
Oh, I think that's a very, very inspiring story. As a disclaimer, I think all these examples are just for, to take a cue from my inspiration perspective on the entrepreneurship and nothing
Yeah.
else, from my investment perspective. Uh, Also, my last question after that, we will just quickly open up for Q&A from our participants. Uh, you have successfully built a very large business, more than 50,000 crores of AUM. You have established a family office and practice. Uh, all our partners who are here, if they have to, serve the HNI clients and they have to work, they have to start the family office business, how they can expand any kind of guidance and advice from your side.
Yeah, yeah.
They
No,
should.
no, surely it'll be my pleasure to share. So first of all, see, you have to see every market, whether it's our industry or any market. For like, I took an example of a chai market. First of all, it's got different parts to it, right? So in the chai market also, there is something like you can have your chai in a five-star hotel, then you can have it in Starbucks, you can have it in Chayos, then you can have it at roadside tail also. Likewise, in our industry also, there are different segments. So you have to choose which segment you have to be part of. If you wish to be part of the upper end of the market, which is, larger wealthy families, which may be, say, having investable wealth of more than, say, 100 crores, uh, or maybe I could say 50 crore plus, then those needs of those families around managing wealth are very different than maybe the other parts of the segments of the family, because the needs of those families is in the scale of wealth is large. So let's talk about families with 100 crores plus investable wealth. I'm not talking of the total balance sheet, which could be much more, their
Okay.
equity in business, real estate, and stuff like that. So
Mhm.
होता क्या है कि see, there is a linear equation between the scale and complexity. So लाइफ में जितना ज्यादा मिलता है, लाइफ उतनी कॉम्प्लेक्स भी होती जाती है, राइट? बिकॉज इट
Correct.
ऑल्सो गेट्स स्प्रेड आउट इन सो मच वेज.
Hmm.
तो हमें दूर से लगता है कि जिसके पास 100 करोड़ प्लस की वेल्थ है वो तो बस अचीव एवरीथिंग इन लाइफ. बट अगर आप उनके पास आके देखें, दे आर एक्चुअली most complexities in life is what they have. Because if
Correct.
they have 100 crore plus, then it's also deployed in 20 things, right? So their challenge is to have their own private investment office which can actually handle single window this entire thing, and help them navigate this. Because another issue they have is that their scale of wealth now has is hit the zone, that it has come into the zone of generational wealth. Now,
Hmm.
generational wealth is something which will last, which is the scale of wealth which will last beyond the lifetime of its existing owners.
Correct.
तो अगर wealth इतनी scale इतना बड़ा है, तो then definitely it will be left to future generations. Then all the
Teachers.
more reason you have to manage it for the convenience and safety and security of your future generations. So all the more reason you need a family office outfit, which not only is taking care of your entire wealth, helping you manage that complexity, but is also, you know, will be there to help your family, future generations. For example, by virtue of your vintage, we are now 23 years old. We have the privilege of working with several families who've been with us the longest in the third generation.
Third generation, wow.
Yeah, one of our earliest clients who now work with us, their third generation works with us. So I think if you want to work in that segment, then you have to then set up a family office. And then a family office, basically, you have to be prepared to do everything, not just pick up the investment check, but you should be equally passionate to provide them the administrative support around the wealth. Because there's
Hmm.
a lot of admin work. So I know our teams, they help our clients even sorting out their property tax issues, you know, their good old PPF issues, which, beyond a time doesn't make sense. So you have to close those accounts. It doesn't happen anymore, but no, many years back, there used to be investments in the post office stuff also. So when you are working as a family office, you have to own the client completely and you have to really help him solve all problems around the wealth and not just, investing that wealth in mutual funds. And you have to also then see if you can help them around property transactions because they will have a real estate allocation also. You have to also see if can you help them around succession planning of that wealth. So basically, you have to be like a family CFO.
Hmm.
So you have to start mentally prepared for that and then start building capabilities to deliver on those requirements. And then over a period of time, you
Basically,
build
if
that.
somebody has to dwell into, into managing all these large promoters and family offices, what you're saying is that from a single product, get into what the client need and then work out, solutions for them. And that will
Exactly.
involve, of course, working with multiple products.
That is right.
No, I think that really so valuable insights from you, Rohit. Right, and it's been more than 1 hour. I didn't feel that okay, we have been talking about your book and your thoughts in the last 1 hour. It's been so engaging. So thankful to you for accepting our invitation and taking out your time to actually talk to our partners, share your perspective with them, and I'm sure with the kind of practice which you have built in with managing one of the most wealthiest clients in India with more than 50,000 crores of asset under management. You have given very successful, very interesting insights to all our partners so that they can also take the benefit into their practice. So thank you very much, Rohit, for your time and for all those, participants, those who have been asking the name of the book again. I'll just say, repeat it. It's Unlocking Wealth: Secrets to Getting Rich at Any Age by Mr. Rohit Sarin. Thank you very much, Rohit, for your time.
No, thank you, Gaurav, and thank you to Can Robeco for creating this brilliant platform. And thank you to all our distributor friends. They were a very engaging audience. They first joined and they were
Certainly.
there all the way. And thank you, friends, for being there. And let's all be agents and messengers of creating affluence in our wonderful country. I always say, we've always grown up, learning that Japan was the land of the rising sun, right?
Yeah.
So what I now say is that Japan was the land of the rising sun. West is the land of the sun where the sun has set, right? India is the land of the shining sun. So,
Wow.
so India
You're
is where the
absolutely right.
action is, and we all have to believe in that. And let's spread the message of affluence and help every Indian to become a wealth creator. Thank you for
You're
joining for the session, and thank you, Gaurav, once again.
Thank you so much, Rohit, and thank you to all our partners for joining us. In this session of perspectives. This is our inaugural session with Rohit Sarin, and definitely we will continue to build on this uh, platform. We will get speakers from with diverse industry insights to share with all of you, and I hope that it all help all of us to learn together and grow together. And now Rohit has given all of us a new word, and particularly to you, all of you, is in terms that all of you are wealth creators. So, be when you are dealing with your investors, I think such a noble profession and the kind of perspective which he has shared on, on the wealth creators and the examples which he has given with the linking that with a wider purpose of helping and contributing to the entire society in the nation. So thank you all for all the work which you're doing. And thank you once again, Rohit, for taking out
Thank
your
you.
time and helping
Thank you. My
all
pleasure.
of us
Thank
to
you.
get those
Thank
insights.
you.
Thank you very much, Rohit.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.